Rock Chat with Trace.
This interview I'm talking to Denham Ellis, who works at the Hot Box music venue in Chelmsford, Essex. Hello, and thanks for doing the interview.
Hi Tracy, thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
All right, it's been pretty hectic with the signs that things could be opening up again. It's been a really busy year anyway for the venue. A lot of places obviously have just had doors shut, but we got the Cultural Recovery Fund, which meant that we could carry on and put the money that we were given back to the artists that would otherwise have no work. So we set the venue up right at the start of the last pandemic. I think it was 2 months after it started, we got cameras installed in the venue. It was a few kind of little point to zoom cameras to start with. Then we had the regulations got launched. There was about 40 pages of regulations we had to follow to broadcast any of the streams. And we contacted bands that we already knew. We had solo artists and just tried to get a real variety of music and use the year to build up social platforms, really. So we've gone from pretty much low numbers on everything to a point where actually we're really happy now. We've just about got to 1,000 on YouTube, and I think Facebook's gone from 1,500 to 5,500, which is a really big leap in the space of a year. So, but we've just been putting in the hours, putting in the work, and then as soon as they've announced that your doors might be able to open, there's just this big flood of people saying, I want to play a gig. I've not played a gig for a year. I want to have an audience. And it's gone from, I'd normally be kind of 2 months ahead with my booking. The whole rest of the year is gone, and a third of next year as well. And I've got to get all those kind of events written up, ticket links up in all the different places. And we've just gone into partnership with Dice. So they're quite interesting. They have a little, like an app, and I'd always liked them because there's no kind of hidden fee. The price you see is what you pay for the ticket, but they monitor your music in a nice way. So they will say you go and watch a blues artist in Chelmsford, then the next time one comes up within a couple of miles, it will send you a message, and it will say so and so's playing here on this date. You might be interested. So it's like an email thing. It's not too pushy. You don't have to read it, but they're a really nice company in terms of, I think they care about music and they understand the different styles. So everything relates. They won't go send you to a heavy metal gig if you don't like heavy metal. It ties in with what you like, and they do really seem to know and focus on their customers as well as the venues. They've been very good in terms of pushing us out on their emails. So where we've had streams, I've seen our streams pop up quite a few times, and they just seem like really nice people to be working with, to be honest. Yeah, really pleased to get that off the ground, and we're going to see how sales go, really. It's a bit of an unknown at the moment. I've had bands have to move things. I get a lot of international acts. I get a lot of bands from Brazil, America, Australia, New Zealand, kind of just stuff that's traveling, interesting international stuff. And obviously the pandemic's put an absolute stop on all that for the moment, but I'm hoping kind of September onwards we can start seeing some more bands. Travel corridors allow it, then they'll be doing their tours, and some of that's been moved to next year as well. Yeah, just can't wait to get these things happening again. I normally, all these bands that come to play at the venue, they will quite often stay at my house, so I'll put them up. I'll look after them. They get plenty of drink. They get all their food. I have a really nice time. That's my kind of social. It's a nice way to unwind after the night of working. You know, you put everything away and everyone else goes home. So they end up coming, if they come to here, that's when my night starts normally, is when the work night is over. So yeah, it's good fun.
How hard has it been to keep going during this time?
Incredibly difficult, because we're now at the stage where, although we had the fund which covered our rent, that's now exhausted. So we haven't taken a penny as a venue in the whole time. While it's been great to build up a digital following, there's been zero income. So it's so important for people to remember all these little venues and to support them, because we're on a knife edge at the moment, and if we don't sell tickets within the next sort of month, 2 months, then we might not be there. You know, it is that kind of close to the wire on stuff. But people have not had any music for a year, so if you haven't seen anything live, people have got to be raring to go out and watch stuff. So I'm really hoping that when we can open the doors, we get decent amounts of people through. A lot of the stuff before was always tickets on the door, but I'm hoping that's going to change because we've got this new, as I said, we've got Dice. We'd always use C tickets anyway, just because everybody knows them. But I'm hoping people adopt Dice. Nobody else in the Essex area has Dice at the moment. So it was very much a thing that I'd used when I'd gone to London for gigs. Really liked the app. I liked the gentle reminders, weekly stuff that was coming up, and it was all relevant. So to me, they just struck me as someone that, they do actually know their music. They're not just going buy our tickets. There's a bit of kind of logic to what they're doing, and I'd like to see that succeed in this area. But yeah, people have to download the app and start using it, and some people won't like that, others will, but that's why we'll keep both ticket platforms going for now and see what works out, really.
What was your initial reaction when lockdown happened?
Disbelief. It was really strange because it actually happened on my birthday, of all things. I had my birthday gig planned, 3 bands playing. It was going to be Future Mache. I think I've said that right. It's kind of written in a kind of German word or something. I'm not very good with pronouncing it, but they were a solid band. I'd never heard them live before. I had a band called Your Mum, which are a 2-piece Brazilian band, and the woman kind of fronts the band. She plays bass and her husband's on drums. Absolutely brilliant. And I think they ended up catching COVID in the run up to that. So they messaged me a couple of days before and said, look, we're really not well, and they didn't want to risk coming, which is great. You know, anytime anyone's got any kind of issue around that, they think they might have it, they're told to stay away, and you just can't take any chances. But yeah, the third band were Graves that were due on that night, and they got there and it was just going to be the one band, unfortunately. And as they got there, we got set up, we were sound checking, and then we got a phone call from the council to say you can't open your doors tonight. So shutters went down and that was it. It was a bit of a rubbish birthday, to be honest. I was really expecting a nice night, but it was, you know, you saw this gradual kind of lead up to it, but that was the actual night that we got told. And I was hoping that was going to be the last gig before doors shut. And I'm so glad that we were able to continue finding music and putting things on, though, because it's helped artists immensely. For a lot of them, it'll be the only time that they've performed, and all the people that have come into the venue, they get given all the footage from the cameras. So we'll hand them a USB at the end of the night, which has all the stems. So they can take that stick away, they can mix it, they can put it out somewhere. Band that came played, and they were a Romford band, and they recorded a song live that night that they hadn't ever recorded before. They'd only rehearsed it, and then they took the files away and they actually ended up tweaking and releasing it, and it sounds great. It doesn't sound like it was recorded live at a venue. They've really worked hard on it, and it's nice to see people working through this, coming up against the adversity of everything that's happening. People now have albums that they're sat on, they've just recorded, but more importantly, it's kept us busy this year. I don't know what I would have done if it was just a year of nothing. I would have gone up the wall in a couple of weeks. I just couldn't have. I've been so more busy this year, I think, than any other year, because there's been so much involved in doing this, and even in terms of communicating with other venues, it's been good for that. I've made a few links in with other people, and it'll be nice to share some artists and just try and get people back out and safely into venues again. That's the goal for the next sort of few weeks. We've got half capacity shows mid-May, and then hopefully we'll be back to full capacity by mid-June. So 21st of June will be the first day. I don't know whether we'll have anything on that night, but in the daytime we've got Chelmsford Carnival. So we've been asked to set up a PA in the high street. So basically we'll set the PA up and I'll just get to play some music out, DJ for a little while, play some music and just enjoy seeing people again, just people walking past. There's something about the place coming back to life. But hopefully there was one other event we're trying to squeeze into this carnival if we can. So basically anyone can turn up. It's in a large open area. We're hoping to get Central Park in Chelmsford, but everybody turns up and they wear a red dress. This is guys as well. So, big beardy blokes, but everybody shows up. And then the Wuthering Heights video from Kate Bush years ago, we'll have someone there that's going to demonstrate the dance so that everybody can follow it. And then we're going to film it. And I think we're going to get our drone up. We've never used a drone before. They've all got pilot's licenses and all of that, but we're going to try and film it from the drone and just get as many people there and involved. And it's going to be such a weird day, but I just think it'll be a lot of fun. It's one of those things that the owner of the place suggested it, and I was like, actually, that sounds brilliant. It's something that could be just a lot of fun. So yeah, really looking forward to doing that if we can.
How important is Hotbox to the local community?
Hugely important. It's the one space that kind of champions local artists, but also supports poetry, it supports up and coming bands, it will support touring bands. There's nowhere else really like it in the world that I can think of. A lot of the bands that come say it's very similar to a European venue. The equipment there is better than most studios have. Really, really lucky that the owner isn't afraid to invest in things. I'm never short of anything. All I have to do is suggest it and it turns up. And it's just a really it's a real hub for culture within the community. We've just made a switch to become a community interest company. So that makes us completely transparent. There's no kind of money being filtered off for anything. It's a good, honest place, and it's there for people to come to experience music. And it's all ages as well. We can have from 14 upwards, as long as parents accompany people. So yeah, one of the last nights that we had a woman brought her 2 children along, and we had a whiskey bar band on from Seattle, and it was brilliant. Just proper R&B like you wouldn't hear normally. It was really authentic. It was just something really special about that night. It was, but it was the end of their tour, sadly. It was the last night because everything ground to a halt. They were meant to be traveling on elsewhere, but I've got really fond memories of that, and it was great fun meeting those guys. Everyone at the venue just had a good time. It was like drinks with the band afterwards. That kind of, as soon as the show finished, they were at the bar, they were talking to people, and it's a really welcoming place. I think without it, the city would be lost. It's definitely a hub for bringing exciting things there and encouraging people to follow music.
Tell me about your skateboard shop.
The place originally started as a skateboard shop. So the walls are kind of adorned with boards and all the bearings and trucks and wheels, and all the guys there that work with that are incredibly knowledgeable. I had never got on a skateboard in my life. I had terrible balance, but the start of the first lockdown, I was paying a fortune to drive my car, park it, and I thought, you know what, there's got to be a better way of doing this. My bike was in pieces, so I spent the money out on a board, and very quickly I've picked that up, and I do a good 3-mile journey on it a day. 3 miles there, 3 miles back. Brilliant. It's keeping me in shape. I'd put too much weight on, and I just needed to lose a little bit. So that was a perfect way of doing it. I'm never going to be at the stage of doing tricks or anything like that. My trick's just balancing on it and going along, and that's absolutely fine. It was something I never thought I'd be able to do, and all the people in the shop are incredibly supportive of anyone wanting to learn. They're really focused on getting the best out of people, and yeah, it's a really nice space for that. But the skateboard shop wouldn't exist on its own, so it doesn't make enough money to just be a skateboard shop. So then it kind of took on being a venue as well. And probably I think they did one gig where there was no bar. And then there was 6 months before there was another gig. And from there on, I guess it was about another 6 months before I came onto the scene. But I'd worked as a promoter locally for about 4, maybe 5 years, just booking lots of different places all over the city. It was just a hobby for me. It was only a show a month, but I put everything into it, and every opportunity I could get to be out, to be playing, to be DJing, to just be involved locally. That's what I'd do. And I'd helped at the record shop for a few years before that, run the record fairs, and it's just, music's always been everything for me. And I'm just so fortunate that a hobby has turned into my job. And I work so hard at it because of that. I never want to have to do anything else, and I couldn't ever imagine being anywhere else. If I got offered a job, oh, you can book for Brixton Academy, I wouldn't get the same feeling out of doing that I would working at grassroots level. There's just something exciting about finding new music, stuff that's no one else has necessarily heard, and people will take a chance to come see. And when you speak to the people afterwards and they were like, that was incredible, really enjoyed it, there's nothing more exciting than that for me. And it was something that was a thrill for me growing up. You go to a gig, it changes you, and you always remember the points in your life where you saw something and bang, it had an effect. And I think I was quite young. I saw Tom Hingley that was in the Inspiral Carpet, and it was his first solo tour. And I snuck into the Army and Navy. I would have been 17 if I was lucky, but I was a bit kind of bigger and hairier than my years. So I managed to get in, and I just remember the impression that he made. It was just one guy and a guitar, and he had the most beautiful voice. His songs were really well crafted, and something just changed that night for me. And I've never forgotten that. And it's really nice because I've actually stayed in contact with him over the years. And I still haven't got him on for a show yet. I will, but I've read his book. I've always followed him. Anytime he's played, I'll go see him. He's such a down-to-earth, nice guy. And it made a really lasting impression on me. And I think it's helped kind of shape and keep me passionate through the years, With stuff, you'll go through a stage where if something doesn't go so well for a while, you think, how much longer am I going to carry on doing this? At what point do you go, nobody cares? But people do care. And just you have a few bad nights, and then you'll have a lot of good nights. And it's just ups and downs, isn't it? That fire always stays with you, and it's such an important thing. Growing up, I thought, as I get older, am I going to get bored of music? Am I going to kind of move on to something else? But no, I've got more into music. There is no other interest for me. It's just everything's music. It's finding new stuff. It's finding old stuff. It's tracing things back through. It's like a tree, isn't it? One piece of music will lead you to 5 others. And then you take that further and further back, and it all leads back to the same kind of source eventually. And yeah, there's something special. Music's like a journey, and yeah, you never stop and get off the ride. You're always going to the next destination.
What personally is your favourite music?
My favourite, I find that really difficult to answer. I love everything from like your real early blues stuff like that. The country blues is incredible, but I also love 60s pop. Was a massive kind of journey for me. But it's all the things that were never quite hits. So they were good enough to be hits, and there's loads of them, but they just never were hits. I love trawling back and finding things that you would never hear otherwise. I like all these, like compilations of stuff. But then again, there's a lot of new bands. I booked quite a lot of psych and garage rock bands. So I really like that kind of sound, but I love every sort of music. I'll listen to electronic music. I'll like some heavier stuff. I try and think with my collection, I'm always trying to get different things. So no matter whoever's coming to play, I can get a bag of records and I can turn up and I can play something that fits with the night. That's my goal. I'm never stuck to one sort of music, because I think of it like, if you like porridge, if you got up every day and you had porridge for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all the way through, every meal, you'd get bored of porridge after a while. So for me, I'm very much kind of different flavorings, different kind of, it's always about finding something different. I think there's so much kind of variety, and there's a lot of good new stuff that you've just got to look for it. I don't use any of the kind of streaming things. I don't like any of that. Bandcamp I'll use because it's money straight to an artist, but get a lot of music that finds me, which is great. Someone will contact, I'll listen to it and think, wow, this is incredible. I use a few booking agents here and there, but not much. I've got a guy in Italy, and me and him are definitely on the same wavelength. Everything he puts on, I love. He sends me over quite a few bands a year, and yeah, absolutely everything he puts out, I go, yep, we'll have it on. It's interesting stuff. But yeah, apart from that, it's I'll do a bit of discovering. I'll look around, I'll listen, or I'll ask bands at play. I'll say, who should I be booking? What should my next band be? And they'll send stuff on. So, and a lot of it is through recommendation. It's been a very organic growth, really, and it's taken a few years to establish. But I'm always finding new stuff. Every band that comes, if they've got stuff for sale, I like buying it. I like to support them. It's just about everyone helping each other out, and just lucky to be in a position doing what I love day in, day out, and being able to kind of keep pursuing my interests and my real kind of passion in life is fantastic. Yeah, could not be in a better place.
What events have you got coming up?
We've got quite a few things booked in. I've got a band from Brighton called Penelope Isles, which is a really nice thing for us to have. They're kind of like a dream pop sounding band, but I like them because I've heard through lots of the other bands we've put on have said they're really nice people. And it's not just that, it's they're a band that have worked really hard to get where they are. They're signed to Bella Union, and they're a decent artist for us to have got. You know, they do play bigger venues, and it's nice to have them. It's only a reduced capacity show, so only 40 tickets for that one, but it's going to be a really special night. And they've done these KXP sessions, which is like a Canadian radio station, and they get people in, and they do similar to like the Hotbox Live sessions, but they've been doing it for years. They're really good at it. They just have a room that's solely for filming. So they have a guy that floats about with a camera, and they're very good at what they do. And that's the goal, has been just try and get that a little bit closer to what they're doing throughout this whole year. And I think even if you'd look back at what we put out before, when we started, we were rubbish. There's no two ways about it. It was me trying to do cameras, sound, everything, and I was like an octopus. It was just impossible. But then as it's gone on, the other guy that was at the bar and the kind of skate shop happened to mention, oh, actually, I did filming when I went to college, so I know a little bit about cameras. So straight away it was like, right, you're on the cameras, you deal with that then. And I think really at that point it began taking shape. There's one other girl, so there's a team of three of us, and then Dave, the owner, sits, he has to watch the network, because one little kind of blip in the internet and it will just cut the whole thing out. And we've recently been rejoined by Dave's son John, who had been away at uni for a year. So we've got a decent team around it now. And yeah, we're just gradually improving with every show. But I've got other things I'm excited about. I've got a band called the Utopiates, who have never played a gig yet. And they've got this kind of the late 80s, kind of early 90s, all the best aspects of that just kind of jumbled up. And just from listening to them straight away, I was like, wow, they've got this sound that you can go, that's popular. Is something that's going to just go take off, and they're going to be absolutely huge. So it's so nice to have contacted them, booked their gig, and we're going to have a great time with them. Another local band, Black Pines, in a few months. I'm looking forward to them. And a guy called George O'Hanlon, who's really nice, kind of very similar to Jeff Buckley in his delivery, and even his guitar playing is quite similar as well. He's only had one single out so far, but within 2 weeks, that's had 20,000 views on YouTube, 20,000 listens on Spotify. So that says to me, he's someone that's on their way to somewhere. So to get him on that first kind of round of gigs, and we'll look after him when he comes, and hopefully he's going to want to come back, you know. It's all been very good, but we've had so much support. There was Pet Needs played, their Colchester band, and that was their album launch we were able to do over lockdown. So they came and they played an absolutely brilliant gig. And Frank Turner, I think, had produced their album. He's been brilliant the whole way through, you know, with all the venues that have been shut. He's done tons of streams. He's really campaigned, and it takes a special sort of person to be that passionate and to care that much about these places. And he's a nice guy for working so hard to keep all these places open. Yeah, and it is such an important thing, because with it, once these venues go, they don't come back. You know, it's when the doors shut, they get redeveloped. It becomes something different. There's very few new venues open up, and it's just so important to keep supporting the ones that are there. To, you know, it's the fabric of society would be different without live music. I always used to be out every opportunity. So studied in Colchester. When I was at Colchester, every night there was a gig on. whether it was the Arts Centre, whether it was, one of the other places around there. I was there, I was at it, I was, just all my money straight on gigs. And yeah, it's always been that way for me. And I can't imagine life without music, locally. It's just such an important thing.
How can people support Hotbox?
Buying a ticket would be brilliant. Go on to the website, hotboxlive.co.uk. So I list all the events on there. So there's links to all the artists. You can listen to something. So you never got to turn up and go, that was rubbish, I wasted that money. You've only got to come along when you think, oh, that's a bit of me. That sounds quite good. If they give us a follow on Facebook, that'd also be really good. We're trying to build that up. And our YouTube channel, which is Hotbox Live Events. So we're just trying to get that up above the 1,000 mark. We've got to do it before we open the doors, because after that, hopefully people are going to be out. They're going to be at venues all the time, So yeah, it's really important. That's been our big milestone to get to, and we'll be celebrating when we get to that milestone. But yeah, just come along. The bar's incredible. I think there's 560 different spirits. I've never seen anywhere like that. Oh, that's another thing we're doing over lockdown. We never had beer on tap before, but we get on very well with one of the local brewers, and he offered to make us a beer. So we're going to his brewery. We're going to try all the hops and taste all the different things and go, oh, we like that. And he's going to mix it all up, and then we're going to make a Hotbox Pale Ale. So we'll have our very own branded beer. That's pretty exciting. Not many places get to do that. So yeah, it's been a year of building, thinking of different ideas, just trying to get focused and get ready for these doors opening up. And it's going to be such a nice thing to actually have people back in this space. It's been empty the whole year. It's really weird doing the streams. The very first ones we did, it was us in the room, and when someone finishes, you want to clap. But when there's only 2 or 3 people in the room and you go, it sounds awful. So I think we did that for one stream, and then we listened back to it and it was like, oh no. So from that point on, we never clapped again. We have a little signal for when it starts and finishes, and it's like a goose honk. And then as soon as that honk finishes at the end, then we give a clap and a cheer. We say, well done. But yeah, it's very difficult keeping quiet at that time. And it's just, there's still energy in the space. Even though there hasn't been people there, every band that's played has gone, it's incredible to be on this stage. We've really made them kind of just feel at home at the place and tried to look after everyone and do the best job we can do on things and to help them out in the long run. All the videos and things like that they get, they can take them, they can edit the stream, they can take out, oh, this song was really good, right, we're going to send this song and that song, and they can use that to go to festivals, that kind of thing. So they can get slots and things like that from it, and it's a lot better than someone sat in the corner of a rehearsal thing with a phone. It's a lot clearer picture, the sound is just incredible, and it's been just a real experience to do it.
Will you continue to do live streams when you reopen?
We're going to go about things slightly differently. So we will still film everything, but it won't go out as a live stream because we don't want to encourage people to sit at home on the sofa. We will film stuff and then we will edit it afterwards. So we'll have, I think we got 7 different cameras all dotted around the venue. So we'll do like a post edit, and then the saving grace for me is doing the sound. The band's in the room, they're playing on the stage, and I'm stood over at the sound desk in the very far end of the room, and I'm trying to listen on a set of headphones. But if you've got drums going on at the other end of the room, you can still hear them. It doesn't matter how good a set of headphones you've got, you're always going to hear stuff through. So for me, it's been very difficult to get things sounding that good, and I don't think anywhere else does live engineering like that. And I would never choose to do it again, because it's real kind of, it's seat your pants stuff in terms of anything could go wrong. And if you make a mistake or something slightly too loud or not loud enough, it's there forever. So what I can't wait for is just to be able to click a button and record everything, and then take that little SD card away, or the USB out the computer, and listen to that with fresh ears the next day and do a completely new mix. So I think we might end up, we're going to lose something in terms of the picture quality, because we're not going to have these great big cameras set up at the front. because there'll be people there. So we're relying on the little cameras to capture the footage, but I think we'll gain in terms of the sound, but we might lose a little bit in terms of picture, and we might end up only putting out highlights and that kind of thing afterwards, just to it might be a couple of songs from a set rather than a full set. But yeah, we're going to keep working at it, keep getting better. And there's been a few bands that we're going to do videos with. We've made good friends with that. We're actually putting out records with a few of the bands as well. There's a band, Hanya, that played. They did a live stream. I think they've been on a few times. That's another Brighton band. They're absolutely fantastic. And I've been itching to get them on a record for a long time. And we've had discussions the other day and we finally agreed, yep, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do it. So I'm really excited about putting that together. Done a few things on a label with a friend, but this is going to be Hotbox Records, and it's going to be something you can make something beautiful and it's there forever. And that's something that's going to help the band. It's going to help us get our name out, and it's just going to spread the word, and it can only be a good thing. So yeah, very excited.
Have you reopened yet?
Yeah, the skate shop's open. Obviously the bar and everything's still closed. We've dusted the bottles off and that's about it. There was a year of dust on them, and yeah, they weren't looking too pretty when you put the lights on. So we've had a spruce up. We've got a few other kind of little jobs at the venue to do. We got loads of new stuff up. People that have been to the place are going to struggle to recognise it because of the amount of changes that have happened over the last year in terms of the decor in the place. The skaters have all been through the shop since it's been open, and we've got a few events set up with them because historically skate and music were two things that kind of intersected, and over the years that just seems to have kind of drifted apart, and that it's not got the same ties that it did have. So I really want to encourage the skaters to come in. I want them to see some stuff. I want them to get into some of the bands that are on. They'll do a skate night. I think they do an adult one and they do a kids one, and they're all in the shop of an evening and they just do tricks in the middle of the shop. They're all flipping their boards up and jumping over and doing things that I can't even imagine. But the adults one, they sit at the bar and they play chess, and it just kind of helps to keep us afloat, and that's their way of supporting outside of the skate shop hours. And it's a really nice, just for all the different uses that the space is getting. It's fantastic. But we had a helicopter tail put on the wall. It's an actual, we used to have some racking that was there before that we'd hang the clothes up, and we've got this real life helicopter tail which now sits proudly on the wall. There's just lots of little, all the details, the things that matter. We know they're there. We're just waiting for other people to come in and kind of discover them and go, wow. When you get off the bus and you push the bus bell and it lights up the little thing, bus stopping. We've got one of them installed above the bar. We've got a random number generator. So if someone comes in, goes, there's so many drinks here, I don't know what to have, they can put a fiver down, they can push the button and it will land on a number, and that's what they get to drink. So, it's lots of little kind of interesting things, lots of additions, and it's just going to be, I can't wait for people to walk back in and just kind of look around and take the place in.
Anything else you want to mention?
We've always got stuff booked in. I've never got a shortage of things to put on, and yeah, it's about getting the space for every sort of music, and there's a night for every person to come along to and to enjoy. So yeah, just really looking forward to getting people back in.
I'd like to thank Denham for joining me for this interview.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.